Gonna be a good day.
Good morning, and welcome back to the Accountability Room, where women gather to talk about books, business, and everything in between. This morning, we're meeting with Jen Shaw, founder and
Hello.
accountant at All Accounting LLC, and Co Govan from Strategic Alliance Group, two exceptional humans. Last week, we talked about motivation versus discipline and what it really looks like to stay consistent when motivation fades. So, before we jump into this week, how did that go for you two? What was your week like?
There was lots of motivation. So it was a good uh help with all of the discipline that I'd done. So when I am a mom of three, and when I have my kids, I have a split time, 1 week on, 1 week off. And when I have my kids, I feel a lot more on.
Yeah.
And so I'm able to uh yeah, just get things done and keep going. And when I don't have them, um most of the time, I just want to sit around and do absolutely nothing and just like hang out and just be me. And there is a lot of like recouping from the week prior, but it's also just like, okay, whatever. But last week, or I guess this week, we're at the end of the week on Friday, I was able to, yeah, seem to be more motivated, keep up the momentum. And
Mhm.
since I was disciplined the week prior, it was that combination of motivation and discipline together, which was really great. So we're ending the week strong.
Oh,
You're
that's good.
yeah.
Seems like when you have the kids, with kids, they're on a schedule and you're
Yes.
Mhm.
doing this, so you tend to be a little bit more, more focused because you have to get them to wherever they need to be.
Yes.
And so when you're by yourself, which I would do the same thing, you're not as focused and you're not on that strict schedule that you need to be on. So I get it.
Mhm.
You're navigating different types of motivation and discipline too, though, which is really interesting because I would
Mhm.
say work motivation and family motivation carry different weight, different things for me. I feel them differently. So I imagine it's a little bit of like when you have in different disciplines. But yeah, the discipline that's required when you have kiddos at home to stay focused on work when you're like, this is my week. I want to show up big, show up hard. You're like,
Mhm.
no wonder you need some recovery the following week too, because you're like, I just gave 200% this week. I'm tired. What were the discipline techniques that came in strong for you this week when you said, I think you didn't have the kiddos this week, right? So you had to, what discipline pulled you back from like not just couch rotting or not just taking too much time
That
off?
would be me.
For sure.
Yep.
I do a lot of bed rotting. Yeah. I think that one, food was a lot better. So when I feed my body, I feel more energized and able to do things and not so sluggish. So that really helps staying consistent with that because the week before, I'm all about prepping and ensuring that I have a meal plan because that 5 o'clock rolls around and you're like, I have been sucked into work all week, all day long. I'm not sure where I'm supposed to go. So if you plan ahead, it's a lot easier. So planning, right? And sticking to my just daily schedule, calendar, uh, just showing up for myself and keeping that going.
And moving your body.
Yeah.
You've been doing any
Moving my
hiking?
body.
Mhm.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. So we went to this really cool spot in the middle. So in our area, we have a larger town, Yakima, and a smaller town, Sela. They're pretty much connected, kind of just not, we're not so big. It's a suburb of Yakima, but anyways, and on this hill, there is this really cool, just like structure that a lot of people go up and do a lot of tagging and artwork, and it's really beautiful. But it's also where a train track is, and it's just interesting to just think about what it was used for. Like 80 years ago, 100 years ago, maybe 50 years ago. I have no idea. So
Maybe yesterday, who knows?
maybe not yesterday because it's definitely a lot of weeds and there is another train track. But just yeah, thinking about what it was. So it was a light hike with the kids. Um, my two younger ones, they, flew above and actually enjoyed it. I think it was short enough, but yeah, just getting those hikes in, being outside, getting my steps in. So good. Yeah.
How did it show up for you this week, Co?
Well, for me, discipline was getting off ChatGPT and putting action to what I was asking it to
Mm,
do and the suggestions that it was giving me. So,
love that.
so what I did, I am trying to do some code outreach. The question I asked is how to market without social media.
Mm,
And so it gave me some suggestions. And of course, one of the suggestions was cold outreach, cold email. So gave me a couple of suggestions on the tools to use. One is Apollo, where
Okay.
where'd it go?
you get lists, whatever states or you're trying to target. They
Yes.
have that, and you put in all the parameters that you need, and they're supposed to give you a list. I am still learning that because the list I'm getting is not quite what I need. And then the other software I got was called Instantly. And that's how you would send out the emails. Once you get the list, instantly sends out the emails. So I did that and I got, which this was new to me, it suggested you get several domains because you don't want to use your main email
Do
and
not.
main domain because it
Yeah.
may not get into the box if something's come up,
It
you
takes your
won't
domain.
have it right
Yeah.
anymore. So
Yeah.
I did that. I am trying to teach myself looking at videos and things. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, I will be further along and I would have sent out at least my first 50 emails.
I love
I love that.
it.
Where are you collecting? So Apollo is bringing you the marketing list. It sounds like where are they
Hmm.
collecting those names and contacts?
I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know if they have a database or it's just like AI, how they pull stuff out the
Yeah.
air sometimes. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know a ton about it, but I do think that you're really wise to get a subdomain or a different domain for sending. We've learned because we've only done marketing campaigns for people who have opted into email, and even that, with the number of
Yeah.
sends, we started getting into spam boxes and
Mm,
things like that. So I was grateful we had a subdomain, but with something where they're selling email lists, you might really hit that spam trigger. So I don't know enough about it. Just I
mhm.
think you're really wise to get a subdomain. So it sounds like you're learning a lot and protecting yourself. I'm just so curious where they even get those lists, but
Yeah, I'm
learning something
not
new.
sure. You just put in your parameters. Everything's supposed to come out. Right now, I'm on the free version.
Okay.
So, they also have where they have the person's name, their email, and all of that.
Well,
Nice.
I do know, like, every business has to register with your state, whatever state you're in, and you have to give certain information. And not all of the information is public, but there is a certain amount that is
Good point.
public. So I'm assuming that that is pulling from that sort of database,
Mm,
and just collecting, yeah, new businesses or open businesses when they said that they were this type, and so then it brings over that information for you to
that
grab.
makes
Yeah.
sense. That makes a lot
Yeah.
of sense. Like, we have to
Love
fill out an annual report every year for the state of Michigan, just to update our records with them. So that could be something like that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that's cool. I love that you mentioned that because I think it's so human to where we just want to search and learn and search and learn and search and learn and never get into the implementation phase. And I feel like that is like key motivation is the search, 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 excitement, 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 and then the discipline is the integration and consistency. And so I love that you were like, I actually smashed this goal this
Mm.
week. Here's what I'm doing. So job very well done. I love that. It's a nice, it clearly hit something in me. I need to think about where I'm just like searching, searching, searching and not implementing. So,
That's me. I was like, let me stop overthinking because I've been
mhm.
talking to chat for 2 hours now and have not started anything. So this week I said, Cole, you can't keep doing this. You're getting the same answers, no matter if you put it in chat, Claude,
Yeah.
and now
Yeah.
Yeah.
Microsoft Pilot. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, gotta just take a few steps. I like, there's a very, very large company in the United States, and I interviewed for them at one point, and they had talked about how one of their key indicators for or desirability in an employee is bias for action. They'd really rather you just take steps, whatever that looks like, even if it means breaking stuff, but they want movement, forward movement, constant movement. And there's a balance, right? Of like, ooh, that action didn't work. Let's slow down. But those steps forward, I think, are really important. And I think, like we're mentioning, that's where discipline comes into play. For me, my um, motivation and discipline was waning as it wanes with my cycle. My motivation might start to fade as my body feels tired or whatever else.
For sure.
And it's so interesting because what it keeps coming back to is actually not even discipline and work. Discipline and work, absolutely. I need my lists, I need my structure. But I keep coming back to my little like top 8 that I do daily of my consistency check-in. And so for me, the discipline piece that really, yes, I love that. The discipline piece that got me through was waking up early. Um, I moved rooms with my daughter recently. She has 8 million books and 47 games and a computer now. And I'm like, okay, pause. And she had this tiny room. So, and I don't have any of that stuff or want any tech in my room. So we switched rooms. And now my window where my bed is where the sun rises. And so I've been
mm,
waking up with the sun. And I set my alarm too a little bit before that. But waking up early, that little element of discipline has been game changer for me because I'm making sure I get my little check-ins with myself personally, so I'm not getting
mhm,
derailed at work. My day is starting off with quiet reflection, awareness of where I am, awareness of what I need. So that then too, when I'm dialed into work, I'm at work. I'm
mhm,
ready. And so I
Mhm.
think that that's been really, really helpful for me for sure.
Mhm.
mhm. Yeah, that morning is a game changer. That whether it's 30 minutes earlier, an hour earlier,
Hmm.
where you can
Yeah.
get that time to yourself, it's a
Hmm.
game changer. Except for this morning, for me, I had to run out the house because I kept, "Alexa,
Snooze.
15 more minutes, please."
Yeah. It's
Bed night
so
too.
true.
Listening
Yeah.
to your body is also good.
Mhm,
Yeah. But it seems that like every time you hit that snooze button, I don't ever feel better hitting the snooze button. I actually
Mm,
feel more
worse.
tired.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you keep hitting the snooze button, you have to right away go into everybody else's objectives. But when you get up earlier, it's that focus. Like for me, I know I am like a slow person in the morning. I'm not sure how it takes me an hour to have coffee, brush my teeth,
Yeah.
and go to the bathroom, but that's literally all I'm doing and it takes an hour. And then once I have that hour just to do literally nothing but just be awake, I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then I do the
And I'm ready.
things.
mhm.
Yes.
Yes, and for me this morning, I was up, but then I kept going back to sleep, and so I didn't have my regular routine because now I
Yeah.
slept too long, and now I have to rush and get to the gym. So I didn't have that time to myself. I didn't get my prayer in. I didn't get my, woosah. I literally just jumped up, got ready, threw on my gym clothes, ran out. I was like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna be late again."
Just running on pure
And now I'm
adrenaline.
just yes, and so then when I get back home, I'm trying to get that time to myself, but the phone is ringing and there's so many other distractions going on.
So you guys actually both wove into the next topic pretty well. Jen, you mentioned now you're just worrying about like everybody else's priorities, and Co, you mentioned like phone is ringing, everybody needs everything. And so those are actually really perfect segues into this week's conversation, which is all about delegating without micromanaging. So for those moments where everything is crushing you, right? As you're growing, you're going to have to start delegating. And if you're finding yourself in that pattern of it's just easier to do it myself, or you're double checking everything you've handed off, this one's for you because
Yeah.
we're talking about really the balance between letting go and leading well. And how do you set clear expectations with a team and stop hovering to get the results that you want, but also still control it? It's hard. This is really
It's
hard.
so hard. Yes.
So delegating without micromanaging. Talk to me a little bit about what that means to you guys.
Well, for me, I hate to be micromanaged.
Hmm.
I don't do my best work when I'm micromanaged. So if you're going to give me something to do, trust that I'm going to do it. If I have questions, then I come ask you questions
Yes.
and
Yeah.
you can check in,
Yes.
have regular check ins to see how everything is going. But if you're standing over me, making sure I do it this way or I'm not doing it the way, and there's several ways to do things and
There's a
come with
million
the
Right.
different
same
ways to do the
outcome.
same
But if
thing.
I'm
Yes.
not doing it just like you're doing it, or won't you do it this way or try it this way? Oh, that frustrates me. So I try not to be that type of leader. I'll give it to you, explain it to you the best I can so you'll understand. My door is always open. If you have questions, come
Yeah.
to me and, we'll take it from there. And I have regular check-ins too. I give
Yeah.
you a deadline and, like I said, if you have questions, come to me. I'd rather you
Hmm.
come to me with questions.
And you trust that they will come to you
That's
because
Exactly.
you've delegated that out. And so you've done your due diligence in saying, hey, I expect you to do this and show up. And I
Mhm.
think that's where a lot of times that delegation, the micromanaging may come in when we feel that we had an expectation of someone and they didn't level up.
hmm
Exactly. And
Yeah,
they're not trying to level up.
right.
that those are both pretty big and potentially different things, but you're spot on because that's like bringing in some anxiety, which is also so valid, right? If
Mm-hmm.
you've delegated something and they didn't do it well, that's already issue one. And then if there's no urgency or desire to learn, that's issue two. Like that kind of stuff drives me nuts. So that would be really
Mhm.
hard. But
And then now with modern technology and all the tools that we have available, you can see, where that person is, whether, what they're doing. You can see the progress that they're making or not making. So you don't have to, stand over them to see what's going on.
Yeah, for sure. With systems and stuff set in place.
Mhm.
I think that's really a really big piece of delegation versus micromanaging is taking the time to set up processes in
Mhm.
order to do a task.
Mhm.
And yes, there are so many different ways that you can do it.
Mhm.
However, you still need to have a structure for someone to be able to look at and
yeah,
Mhm.
see, because I think the micromanaging comes in, like questions are good, but if it's a low level question of like, what box do I choose in order to do this task? Okay, well, you don't want to have to tell them exactly standing over their desk and
yeah,
saying, okay, click here, click here, click here. That's micromanaging. But if you just broadly have those processes set in place for them, then you can really step back and do that more delegation. So I think in order to delegate well, you must set up good processes so that the person can flourish in what they're doing. And then it's also really important that you're choosing an individual who has somewhat knowledge or is willing to learn that knowledge. And that's, I think, again, going back to the trust issue, is you've
Right.
done your due diligence, is choosing someone that you know can confidently come to you and ask questions if need be, but they can have the level of figuring it out on their own. And so you don't have to get into the micromanaging of it, because it doesn't feel good to not feel trusted.
Yeah.
No, it does not. Not at all. And then another thing now with, I don't want to date myself, but you know, take notes. If
Take notes.
someone's teaching you
Yes.
something, take notes. And it used to
Take notes. Yes,
frustrate
please.
me sometimes when I'm, you know, teaching someone how to do something. They're not taking notes and they're
Yeah,
Yeah.
coming back with the same low level gen questions over and
Right.
over again. And that gets
Yeah.
frustrating.
that does
Yes.
get frustrating. And
Mhm.
I think it's also worth considering that depending on subject matter or competency level or whatever else, management is going to look very different. So, yes, 100%, like have detailed process. If you give somebody a detailed process, then give them this and they have the training and the competency to manage that, let them
Mhm.
do it. And then, yes, inspect what you expect, but let them thrive. But I will say it's interesting, at least in my area, what feels like micromanagement is very, very different depending on my competency. So, in areas where
Mm.
I thrive, I know what I'm doing, I have 47 amazing ways to do something, I know it in and out. I want you to trust me to do that and let me do it. And then I promise to report back. I promise to connect with you with questions, things like that. In areas where it's very new to me, I am a process person and I want detailed notes. I'm like, I do want you to tell me what box to check. Send me screenshots. I want everything. And so it can be really interesting, I think, for people to sort of manage up to their employees in a way of like, what is it that you need from me? And so again, that process piece is so important, I think. But if I'm newer at a task, what might feel like micromanaging to you feels like safety to me. But if I'm really seasoned at a task, what might feel like support and safety to you feels like jail to me. I'm like, let me play.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
that communication piece is so important with, do you feel like you got it? Are you good? But
Right. And I,
um,
I think that definitely is part of the process, though, and being able to delegate something without that micromanaging is setting up those roadblocks of, okay, in 30 days, we're going to check in and you
yes,
should hit these targets. In
Mhm.
60 days, you should be able to hit these targets. And I think that a lot of times when you see potentially people that are more micromanagers might be the types that have been burned in the past, and every time the person that has they have delegated the job, maybe they just didn't slow down and fill the job to the person that they really should have, and things just kind of blow up and they have to get fixed. And then how do you trust that next person, because you've been blown off by these
right.
other 5 other people that you tried to delegate something to? And that's really just like looking back at yourself and saying, okay, is it the 5 people that really had the issue, or was it the type of delegation that I did and the steps that I set up? Can I slow down and
Mhm.
figure this process out so that the person who is ever doing this job feels confident and can and run with it, ask all the questions they need up front because it's new, but then be able to do what they need to do later on.
And that's where good systems and instructions come in
Yes,
place, especially with the tools that we have available to us now. Because now you can video the processes. You
Yes.
can
yeah.
write it out, it's written, there's videos. So if they can't figure it out, then maybe they're not a good fit for you or the company.
Yeah. That I just keep coming back to communication. I think that's so important because as you're saying that, it's such a good reminder about process. That was my first thought when Jen was talking too, is like
Mhm,
develop that SOP. For us, we put everything in financial sense. Like what does
mhm,
that look like? Where are our notes? Where you can add screenshots, whatever. But then also that communication piece of like, if you've given somebody notes 47 times and they're still not figuring it out and you're stuck in a position where you feel like you have to micromanage, what is really breaking down there? Like,
mhm.
what really is the problem? Is it a lack of um, discipline? Is it a lack of understanding? Do the notes make sense to them? What I was thinking about with system breakdown was In a couple of previous jobs, sometimes I'd make SOPs or little guides. And one of the things that I noticed was I had full access. So sometimes I would be sending directions to a new member of my team. They don't have the same menu options that I have,
Mm,
but they wouldn't communicate that right away. So stuff just wasn't getting done. And I'm like, I sent you screenshots. I sent like a video. I know how, I mean, we walked through it, but if they're not giving you that feedback, that also is exhausting.
mhm,
So that communication piece is really, I don't know, coming.
Collaboration.
mhm,
Yeah.
You have to collaborate,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Because you want your team to thrive. We
Mhm,
Yeah.
all want to do well. Yeah.
Right. And if you're having to describe those low level things that someone should pick up quickly or in a varied time, whatever it might be, you're really holding back your whole entire company. Because instead of really growing further and diving deeper into being able to handle more clients or being able to have your cash flow for where you need it, you are dealing internally with all of these small, low task items that aren't actually feeding into your business. So you're slowing your business growth, you're slowing your personal growth,
Yeah.
and being able, yeah, to break it down into smaller steps.
You're describing a
mhm.
bottleneck. If you're
Yeah,
constantly
Yeah.
exactly,
micromanaging, you're becoming a bottleneck in your company, right? Like
Yes.
yeah, you have to release. It's interesting. It's an interesting visual because like I never, we have all of these terms like you've been uprooted or you're a bottleneck or whatever, and I never think
Yeah.
about them. I know intellectually what they mean, but when you actually think about the visual, you're like, that's actually a really great description, right? Of you're
mhm,
really slowing growth and you physically have to let go to widen that gap. And
Hmm.
it is, uh, I think, probably most vulnerable early in a business because
Yes.
there's so much at stake. You've invested so much of yourself to develop that. And I think that's where a lot of accountants, maybe not early in business, but smaller businesses even, um, find themselves. Like smaller business owners releasing any of that feels so much more vulnerable. Um,
Hmm.
but it matters.
Well, I think that sometimes women in particular to men tend to think that they can do it best. I've done it first. I've set up the process. I know the best way to do it. And so sometimes it's that ego that we fight with. We want to level up and let someone else do it, but it's our baby. It's our business baby or our kid baby. Like we're just like, I don't know if I can let that go even though we're saying yes, let it go, but then when it comes into the day to day, you're like, wait a second. And then there's all these bottlenecks. So yeah, sitting back with yourself and saying, okay, why am I micromanaging so
mhm,
much? What is it that I need to reflect and say, do I not trust this person? Do I not trust myself? Do
Yeah.
I not trust my growth? Like, what is it that is actually holding you back when you're micromanaging?
mhm.
Oof.
And then sometimes we complain about having so much to do. We have so much on
Yes,
our plate. We have to do this, have to do that. And once you finally delegate, now it's like, ugh, they're not doing it the way that I would do it. Maybe I
Yeah.
should just take it back, you know? And so you have to be able to, like you said, Jen, trust that that person is going to do a good job.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is a lot easier to do than to teach.
It
Oh my
is.
gosh,
It
yes.
It
is.
just is like that. It takes more effort. It takes more time. It takes emotional capacity. It takes um, putting into words what you do by muscle memory. Like if you think
Yes,
back about how to do something that you just do instinctively, consider the number of steps you miss. Like if you're teaching somebody how to drive or whatever, and they turn
that's
without a
exactly what I was
signal.
thinking.
And
Mhm.
yeah, and they're like,
The
I didn't,
driving.
what the heck is a blinker? And I have to check
Yeah.
my mirrors every 6 seconds, but also
Yes.
shift, but also hit this toggle with my, like,
Yes.
no, like it becomes muscle memory. And so when you're trying to then literally break it down step by step so somebody can track that, it's exhausting. And I think that's also why it's so much harder to delegate in a newer business where you don't have all of these processes, like you haven't really gotten it out on paper. And a lot of times things change really rapidly in a new
Mhm.
business, right? As you grow, processes shift. As you get new clients, your systems change. And so you're having to constantly redo that. And I think it can feel really exhausting in the morning, but just like it sucks to wake up at 5 in the morning and go work out, you feel better when you put the effort in up front so that you can delegate it later and have a better day.
Mhm. You do feel better after that workout. You're
Yeah.
complaining as you drive in there and everyone's still asleep and it's dark outside. But once you done afterwards, oh, it's such a great feeling.
It is. And then you can do things like have a healthy body, or in the terms of delegation, you might be able to take a vacation again one day and know that somebody else can navigate these tasks. And you found a way to get
Exactly.
your brain on paper, which is or on the
Exactly.
computer, which is hard.
Mhm.
Okay, so here's the challenge for the week. Now that we've kind of talked about how we navigate this and what it means, I want to give a challenge to any listener. And so the challenge is this, and to us. Pick one task that you've been holding on to that you really know you should be delegating.
Mm.
And then instead of just handing it off and hoping for the best, like I've been doing this, I want you to give it a test run. Take the pause and do the work. So clearly define the outcome. What is it that you actually want to have the end result be? And communicate those expectations up front. So for us, that would mean, documenting an SOP in financial sense. Jen is so good at this. If she goes in and she makes changes about, like, I saw you're not doing this and I see that it's not in the SOP, I've put it in there and let's talk about it. So really communicate the expectations up front. And then, and this is the hard one, take a step back and see what
Yeah.
happens. Let it be done. Not
Right.
perfectly, and not even how you would do it necessarily, but done. Because, and here's the key piece, is delegation is not about control. It's about growth. You are not going to be able to control what somebody else does, as much as we try in every facet of life. So that would be the goal, is find that single task, what it is that you've been holding on to and need to release. Take a second to define the outcome, communicate the expectations, and then take a breath and see what happens. Um, so yeah, that leads us in, I think, to our growth edge. So that would be my challenge to each of you. So funny because I'm like challenged myself too, but I don't delegate to anybody. So maybe I'll find that in my personal life somewhere.
I was
But what
thinking
is
the same thing. It's just me. I have to do it all.
well, you have one employee
Yeah,
on a
my
part
niece,
time.
she's graduating next Saturday, so she took her finals this week, so I was trying not to bother her. I'm like, let her get
Mm,
through this, let her write her
totally.
last paper, let her walk across the stage, then I'll jump in and go.
Then I'm gonna
Yeah.
give her all of the back
Yeah.
work.
Exactly, exactly.
Awesome. And maybe it's if we wanted to reframe it, like you were saying, it's getting away from the planning and perfection and coming into the action piece. Because
Mhm,
it's really, this is all coming back to growth. Like, how
mhm.
do we make space for growth? And so if it's not even about delegation, like what are you guys each committing to this week to move yourselves forward? So not a big overwhelming
Yeah,
goal.
well, I think that even though that you may be, on your own, or any solopreneurs out there, in our case, Becca does do some of the small bookkeeping stuff, but the accounting CFO level stuff I am still doing on a regular basis. And what I have noticed just yesterday, I have a client, and the way I have to get into their system, I have to log into their computer. And for whatever reason, because it's not on QuickBooks Online, I have this mental block with it. So I literally wait until the very last moment to go into it. However, when I went into it last yesterday, I was looking at our SOPs and realized that last month I had created more detail in which I needed to check XYZ. And so it went so much smoother because I know all of the things I need to do.
Yeah.
However, if it's stuck in my brain, then I have to be like, oh yeah, wait, I gotta go and do this. But it was all in my SOP, and I was like, oh,
I
yep,
love
I
that.
gotta do that prepaid. Oh, yep, I gotta make sure I check that chart of accounts. Oh, that's right, I need to go to this report and pull this report to do this journal entry. So It's really about slowing down and setting up processes for yourself. And perhaps for me, I'm continuing, excuse me, continuing with my SOPs because although we have a good system, it is a lot more of the um, smaller the beginning tasks of bookkeeping where I'm now building out the SOPs for myself so that someone can come in and do
Hmm.
my job. And I think that doing that helps you to hire someone quicker, which means that you're able to grow quicker,
Right.
which means that even if things are changing, you can easily just go in and simple process and get it done.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I love that. It's so
Mhm.
true. Use these same principles for yourself, not even just for someone else.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Your future self will thank you, right?
'Cause I forget sometimes, even though you've done
Uh,
it a million
Yep.
times, it may
Yep.
be this one day that you're just not feeling it at all, and you may forget some things.
It's so funny how it all comes back to consistency. We have to have consistent systems. I think we just thrive with that. I
Mhm.
mean, that's a common phrase. We're creatures of habit, but habit absolutely is brings a sense of stability for
Mhm.
sure and structure. And with that, then, like you said, Jen, if you have written everything out so that somebody can come in and pick up whatever you've handed or whatever you've set down and move forward, you're just like amplifying your
Mhm.
opportunity for growth. It matters when you can replicate yourself, you can do so much more. My growth edge focus this week is on trust for myself. So I document everything. I already know that I'm really good at like making sure, hey, I did X, Y, and Z, and I'm really hyper communicative. And I've now been with Jen for about a year. And so the first year has been really fun. We've been sort of blending and learning, and even with client communication, because she built this book of clients on her own and has nurtured them, my communication with them has even been like, hey, Jen, is this okay to say? Hey, how will this land? Are you all right if I do this? Right? Like respecting her baby. And now I think Jen knows me more. Well, she's my sister. She always knows me, but knows how I work, knows how I work, sees how I work. I've had a chance to really dig into her process. And one of the things that's been sort of like struggling a little baby bit is like I don't want to have to in my mind make her do the job twice. Like I really want to make sure that I can just do it and fly and not require her to sign off on everything within reason. Don't worry, Jen. So but leaning into like I'm just going to send this, and if it's incorrect, it came from me. It didn't come from Jen. She has that, right? Like that safety trust of like she didn't say that. I said that. We can repair it. I can trust myself. But I think sometimes with that micromanagement piece, we even micromanage ourselves. I do that for myself because I never want to do the wrong thing. Nobody wants to make a mistake. Everybody wants to be respectful. But I think that is squashing growth too. Like if you're not willing to ever take a little risk and just do things, because if you have to constantly reread something that somebody said or prep it or whatever, it just slows it down. So
Mhm.
that's been my goal, is just to trust that she's laid out every process. I have the tools that I need. Nothing cannot like be irreparable. And so that's sort of my growth goal, is to let Jen fly a little bit instead of hanging on so deeply.
Don't leave me.
That's a total you thing because I'm like, you got it. I know
I
that you
know.
are competent and you will do well. And you're just like, okay, but what about this? And I'm like, can you just send it, please?
Yeah.
Jen's like, that's also my growth is let go. Leave me
Mhm.
alone.
Right.
Get off.
Yes.
I love it. Well, is there anything else, beautiful ladies, that you want to know? Okay. Well, thank
No.
you for
No,
spending
I
this.
think this was a great,
This was
yeah, I loved our conversation today.
me
It's
It's
so
so
too. Me
important.
wonderful
too.
chatting with you guys.
Indeed. And if this conversation resonated with anybody who's listening, share it. Send the reminder that you don't have to do everything by yourself, that we really are stronger together, and that building something sustainable means connecting with your team, providing trust. And we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye bye.